You think her silence means she's moved on, but silence is the loudest thing she's ever said to you. And if you've been sitting with that silence, scrolling through her Instagram at 2 hours in the morning, replaying conversations like you're searching for the exact moment it went wrong, I need you to stop. Not because you're broken, not because you're weak, but because you are looking for answers in the wrong place. And every second you spend looking outward is a second you spend losing yourself inward. Today, we are going to talk about 3 hidden signs she actually misses you like crazy, not the surface level stuff, not the obvious she liked a photo from 2 years ago conversation. I'm talking about the deep rooted psychological signals that most men completely misread or worse, never notice at all. Because the truth about female psychology is not what the internet taught you. It is not a game, it is not manipulation. It is something far more primal, far more honest, and far more revealing than you have been told. Here's what it really means. When a woman goes quiet, when she pulls away, when she orbits your life without ever landing, it means something is happening inside her that she does not know how to say out loud. And here is where most men get destroyed, not by what she does, but by what they make it mean. Before I go any deeper into this, if you are new here, and nobody in your life is telling you the truth about yourself, about women, about the version of you that is capable of being chosen and staying chosen, hit subscribe. Not for me, for you. Because the algorithm will feed you what you already believe. And if what you already believe is keeping you stuck, staring at a phone screen, hoping why women hide their feelings, she texts back, then you need a different signal in your feed. You need somebody reminding you who you actually are. So hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and let's keep going. Let me set the framework before we get into the signs, because without the framework, the signs mean nothing. Most men approach the question of whether a woman misses them from a place of emotional deficit. They are hoping she misses them because they miss her. They are looking for evidence of her longing because it would validate their own. And that is understandable. That is human. But it is also the exact mindset that causes you to misread every single signal she sends because you are not reading her. You are reading your own need and projecting it onto her behavior. Here's the hard truth. When you are operating from a place of lack, you see what you want to see. You call it intuition. You call it knowing her. But what you are actually doing is building a story inside your head using her behavior as raw material. And that story is almost always about your own unresolved pain. That's called emotional projection, and it will ruin you if you don't catch it. So before we get into the signs, I want you to make a decision right now. Decide that you are going to read this information as a psychologically aware adult, not as a man desperately searching for permission to go back. Because there is a difference between understanding a woman's psychology and using that understanding to reclaim your own footing and using it as a justification to chase. One is power, the other is the thing that made her pull away in the first place. All right, let's get into it. The first hidden sign she misses you like crazy is this: she controls the distance but cannot control the returns. You've seen this. Maybe you're living this right now. She ends the connection, she pulls back. She says she needs space, she needs time, she needs to figure things out, and you give her that. You respect it, or you try to, and then out of nowhere, she reappears. A meme, a memory notification, a, "Hey, how have you been?" A voice note at 11:30 on a Tuesday when nothing happened in either of your lives to explain the contact. Men read this as inconsistency. They call it mixed signals. They say she doesn't know what she wants. And sometimes that last part is true. But what is actually happening psychologically is more specific than that. And understanding it will change the way you see the entire situation. Women, like all humans, are deeply driven by emotional anchoring. When a significant relationship ends or stalls, the emotional anchor does not immediately disappear. It lingers. It resurfaces at specific trigger points. A song, a smell, a quiet Sunday. a moment of personal disappointment where the brain automatically reaches for a feeling of safety or significance. And for her, if you were that anchor, your absence creates a pull. Not necessarily a pull toward you as the person she wants to be with forever, but a pull toward the feeling, toward the version of herself she was when things were good, toward the emotional state you once represented. Here is where it gets critical. She controls the distance because something is telling her to keep it. Maybe that's ego. Maybe that's pain. Maybe that's a legitimate incompatibility she has not articulated, but she cannot control the returns because the anchoring is deeper than the decision. The returns are involuntary. They are emotional gravity doing what emotional gravity does. The mistake most men make is to treat the return as an invitation. She texted, she reached out, she remembered, so they jump. They sign for one. She finds ways to stay connected, respond with everything they've been holding back. They pour 2 months of unprocessed longing into a single message and wonder why she retreats again. That's called giving her the evidence she needed to confirm the distance was the right call. The return is not an invitation, it's a signal. And the difference between a man who reads it correctly and a man who doesn't is everything. A man who reads it correctly does not jump. He receives the contact from his own center. He responds warmly, but without urgency. He does not pivot the conversation toward the relationship. He does not try to fix anything at the first sign of contact. He lets her feel what she came to feel, which is that he is still him, still grounded, still okay, still someone worth the return. That is the response that creates genuine longing, not desperation answering desperation, steadiness answering confusion. Remember this: you cannot chase your way into being missed, but you can become the kind of man that a woman's emotional gravity pulls her back to again and again, regardless of what the logical part of her brain decided. Now, the second hidden sign she misses you like crazy is this: she has started performing her life. This one is subtle and it is powerful, and most men either miss it entirely or they see it and they misread it. As she's doing great, she doesn't care. When a woman starts flooding her social media with content shortly after a significant relationship ends or stalls, especially content that is clearly curated to look effortless, thriving, and unbothered, that is not evidence of healing. That is evidence of an audience she has in mind. And 9 times out of 10, she knows exactly who is in that audience. Performance is not peace. Peace is quiet. Peace does not need a camera. Peace does not post a gym selfie at 6 a.m. 3 days after telling you she needs space, tagging a location she knows you recognize, in a shirt she wore the last time you told her she looked incredible. I'm not saying this to make you cynical. I'm not saying women are manipulative performers. I'm saying that human beings, men and women alike, behave differently when they believe they are being watched by someone who matters. And when she believes you might be watching, her behavior becomes a message. She just can't say it in words, so she says it in images. Here is the root cause. When a woman genuinely cares about a man and has lost connection with him, one of her deepest fears is that she is disappearing from his perception, that she is becoming irrelevant to him, that he has moved on, found someone new, or simply stopped seeing her. And the instinctive response to that fear before it is ever processed consciously is visibility. She makes herself visible. She makes herself desirable. She makes herself a version of the woman she believes he found attractive in the first place. That's called seeking perceived desirability in the absence of direct connection. And it costs her more than she knows. Because every post that is designed for your eyes is a post that confirms she has not moved on. It is a post that confirms you still matter. The visibility is the vulnerability. She just doesn't know she's showing it. Now, before I go further, I need to say something that may be uncomfortable, but is absolutely necessary. This sign is only a sign if the rest of her behavior suggests emotional investment. If a woman genuinely does not care about you, she will not bother crafting a performance for your consumption. Indifference is invisible. It does not post. It does not curate. It does not make itself available to be watched. So the next time you see her out here living her best life, in a very specific and very deliberate way. Ask yourself, not is she over me, but why does she need to look like she is? And then, and this is the critical part, do not let it pull you. Do not slide into her DMs with a heart react. Do not comment something slick. Do not let her know the performance landed. That's called being the audience she needed. And the moment you become the audience, you surrender every bit of power you built through your absence. Watch without responding, understand without reacting. That is discipline. That is what separates the man who gets her back, if he even decides he wants to, from the man who confirmed she could still get him with a photo. The third hidden sign she misses you like crazy is the most psychologically dense of all three, and it is this. She begins testing proximity through other people. She asks your friends how you're doing, not in a casual way, in a way that lingers, that invites follow up, that leaves a breadcrumb for the information to find its way back to you. She shows up at the same places she knows you frequent, not necessarily to engineer a run in, but because those places carry sign number two, she reappears when you start moving on the association. She talks to mutual connections in a way that is clearly designed to surface information about your emotional state, your dating life, whether you seem okay, whether you seem to be doing better or worse. That's called triangulated pursuit. When a woman cannot approach directly because of ego, because of fear, because of a story she has told herself about why she should stay away, she pursues information indirectly. She sends out feelers through the social landscape, she maps the territory without entering it, and she waits to see what comes back. Men either don't notice this at all because they are not tuned into the network, or they notice it and dismiss it as gossip or coincidence. But it is neither. Coincidence does not have a pattern. And a woman who is truly indifferent does not spend emotional energy gathering intelligence on a man she has fully released. Here's why this happens. At the level of emotional processing, moving on from a significant connection requires updating the internal story. It requires replacing uncertainty with conclusion. And the fastest way to reach a conclusion is to gather data. Is he okay? Is he angry? Has he found someone else? Is he growing? Is he falling apart? Each piece of data helps her calibrate her own emotional position, not necessarily toward action, but toward resolution. She is trying to close the loop that the opened, and she cannot close it cleanly without knowing where you landed. The reframe here is this. You want her to receive good data, not fabricated data, not performed data. Real data that reflects who you actually are. You want the reports that travel back to her through the network to confirm something, that you are grounded, that you are not destroyed, that you have not replaced her with the first available option in a desperate attempt to prove you're fine, that you are doing the actual work, not performing wellness, but building it. Because here is what costs you in this dynamic. If you get it wrong, if she gets back bad data, if the reports are of a man who is spiraling, obsessing, or performing pain, it confirms her distance was protective. It confirms she was right to go. But if she gets back data that tells her, you are real, you are building, you are not waiting, something shifts inside her that she cannot logic her way out of. She starts to wonder whether she made the right call. Not in a cruel, game playing way, in a deeply honest way. She begins to question the narrative she built to justify the separation. And that question is where genuine reconsideration begins. Now, I want to talk about the man, not you right now in this moment, reading or watching this. I want to talk about the version of you that makes all three of these signs irrelevant because he does not spend his days decoding them. He does not need to. He is so deeply invested in his own trajectory that the signs become background noise in the story he is already writing. This man wakes up with a purpose that precedes her. He has a reason to be alive and awake and in motion that has nothing to do with her presence or her absence. Not because he is cold, not because he is closed, but because he learned through pain or through discipline that anchoring your identity to another person's choices is the fastest route to losing yourself entirely. He has standards, real ones, not standards he quotes to sound impressive, but standards he enforces quietly without drama through the choices he makes every single day. He does not negotiate his self respect. He does not trade his peace for access. He does not shrink himself to fit into someone else's ambiguity. He knows his value in a way that is neither arrogant nor fragile. It is simply settled. And that settledness is magnetic in a way that strategy will never replicate. He grieves his losses. He is not a robot. When connection ends, he feels it. He lets it move through him instead of around him. He sits with the discomfort long enough to be changed by it instead of hardened by it. He cries if he needs to. He processes without performing. He talks to the right people. He goes inward. And then, and this is the part that separates him from everyone else, he comes back out. He returns to his life not as someone pretending to be okay, but as someone who chose to rebuild. He does not chase, not because he is indifferent to connection, but because he understands that anything worth having moves toward you when you are worth moving toward. He creates gravity rather than chasing it. He builds something so real and so rooted that the right people find it impossible not to orbit him. And when they orbit, he does not panic. He does not grasp. He simply continues being exactly what caused the orbit in the first place. That is the man. And here is what I need you to understand. He is not a fantasy archetype. He is not a character in a movie. He is a version of you that already exists. Buried under the noise of anxiety, under the weight of overthinking, under the habit of giving too much too soon to people who were never sure they wanted it, he is already inside you. He has been there the whole time. You have just been too busy reading her behavior to read your own. So let's talk about what you actually do from here. Because I did not bring you this far to leave you with awareness and no action. Awareness without direction is just sophisticated suffering. Stop checking her social media. Not forever if you cannot commit sign number 3. Her actions reveal more than words to forever. But for now, stop letting her curated performance become your morning emotional briefing. Every time you open her profile before you have opened your own day, you are telling your brain that she is the reference point for your emotional state. She is not. You are. Set the boundary with yourself and mean it. Stop making yourself emotionally available to her reappearances without discernment. When she returns through a message, through a mutual friend, through a meme at midnight, receive it from a grounded place. Respond if you choose to from your center, not from your need. Do not open the door by swinging it wide on the first knock. Let her knock twice. Let her know through your pace and your tone that you are not standing behind the door waiting. Stop waiting. This is the hardest one. Stop living in suspension. Stop operating as if your real life begins when she decides to come back, or when you finally get the closure conversation, or when she sees what she lost. Your life is happening right now. This breath, this moment. This is not the waiting room. This is the room. And every day you spend waiting is a day she gets for free, paid for with the only currency you cannot earn back, your time. Redirect your energy into something that predates and outlasts her. Work on the thing you have been avoiding. Build the thing you have been planning. Get back in the gym not to look better for her return, but because your body is the first territory of your self respect and you cannot afford to neglect it. Call the friend you have been meaning to call. Read the book. Start the business. Move to the city. Take the trip. Not to prove anything to her, not to manufacture a performance, but because you are a living, breathing, whole human being with a full life to build. And she is one chapter in that life, not the whole narrative. Get honest about whether you actually want her back or whether you want the feeling back. These are not the same thing. The feeling of being chosen, of being known, of being loved, that is real and that is human and that is something worth wanting. But confusing the feeling with the specific person who once gave it to you is one of the most common and most costly mistakes men make after a significant connection ends. Ask yourself the hard question. If she came back tomorrow exactly as she left, same patterns, same uncertainties, same behaviors, would you be happy or would you be relieved? Because relieved is not the same as happy. Relieved is just the absence of pain. And you deserve more than the absence of pain. You deserve the presence of something real. If the answer is that you genuinely want her, genuinely believe the connection has value that is worth pursuing, then the path back to her does not run through decoding her behavior at 2 in the morning. It runs through becoming the version of yourself that makes the return obvious. It runs through the grounded, purposeful, self respectful man I described earlier. It runs through the work. And the beautiful truth about that work is that it makes you better regardless of what she decides. Whether she comes back or she doesn't, the man you build in the process is the greatest outcome of the entire experience. That is not a consolation prize. That is the prize. You are not defined by whether she misses you. You are not built or broken by her choice to stay or go. You are not half a person waiting to be completed by someone else's reconsideration. You are the whole thing. You have always been the whole thing. The grief you feel right now, that weight in your chest, that loop in your thoughts, that hunger for a specific kind of connection, that is not weakness. That is evidence that the psychology behind missing someone, you are capable of deep feeling. And deep feeling, when directed at the right target, is the most powerful thing a man can own. Direct it at yourself, direct it at your vision, direct it at the life you have been too distracted to build because you have been too busy wondering whether she sees what she walked away from. She sees it on some level. She has always seen it. But what she sees does not determine what you build. What you build determines everything else. You are not waiting for her permission to be great. You never were. The three signs we covered today, the involuntary returns that defy her decision, the performed life that reveals her audience, the triangulated pursuit through mutual channels. These are not tools for manipulation. They are a map of her interior, and the purpose of that map is not to plan your next move toward her. The purpose is to free you from the story that she has moved on, and you meant nothing because that story is not true, and carrying it is costing you energy you need for the life you are supposed to be building. She hasn't moved on. She is circling, but so are you. And the question is not whether you can get her back. The question is whether you can get yourself back first. Because the version of you that gets himself back is the version that makes everything else, the relationship, the next one, the life, the legacy possible. So let me close with this. You came here, whether you found this video or it found you, because something in you was searching for a signal. Some part of you needed to hear that you are not invisible, that the connection mattered, that you did not imagine the depth of what you felt. I want you to hear that it mattered. You were not wrong to feel it. You are not pathetic for still feeling it. You are human and human. Final lesson: why distance can mean desire. Beings bond deeply, and that bonding does not dissolve on a timeline that is convenient or comfortable. But here is your assignment from this moment forward. Stop searching for signs that she misses you, and start giving yourself reasons to miss the version of you that you've been neglecting. Become interesting to yourself again. Become someone you would want to know. Become someone who shows up for his own life with the same level of intensity and devotion that he was prepared to show up for hers. That man, that version of you, is not waiting on her. He is not waiting on anyone. He is already in motion, already building, already becoming. And everyone worth having, including her, eventually recognizes that kind of man for exactly what he is: irreplaceable. If this video hit something in you, if you felt any part of this in your chest, not just in your head, subscribe. Not to run up a number, but because you need people in your feed who are going to tell you the truth about who you are and who you are capable of becoming. This channel is built for the man who is serious about the work, not just the work on women, not just the work on relationships, the work on himself, the deep, uncomfortable, rewarding work of becoming someone you are genuinely proud of. Subscribe, come back, bring a friend who needs to hear this, because we are building something here that is bigger than any one video, bigger than any one relationship, bigger than any one moment of pain. We are building a community of men who have decided that truth is better than comfort, and growth is better than stagnation, and self-respect is not negotiable. You are not alone in this, and you never,